Hare Krishna. Welcome to this episode of Bhagavad-gītā. And today we'll be discussing chapter 8, text 9, which we did on the last Sunday, but we're going to do it again today because I haven't touched upon many of the subjects, many of the words of the verse. I basically just went through only one word of that verse, which is purāṇam, basically. So today we'll be exploring some of the other words, hopefully all the other words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Anchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today the verse is 8, 9. So we did this on Sunday, but I basically touched upon only one word on that day, purāṇam, which we will quickly recap today as well. But there are so many other words in this verse that this one verse is like, in a nutshell, everything about Krishna, but requires a lot of explanation to broaden our understanding. So, chapter 8, text 9. Kaviṁ purāṇam anuśāsitāram aṇor aṇīyāṁsam anusmared sarvasya dhātāram acintya-rūpam āditya-varṇaṁ tamasaḥ parastāt. Kṛṣṇa. Kaviṁ, the one who knows everything. Purāṇam, the oldest. Anuśāsitāram, the controller. aṇor, than the atom. aṇīyāṁsam, smaller. anusmared, always thinks of. Yah, one who. Sarvasya, of everything. dhātāram, the maintainer. Acintya, inconceivable. Rūpam, whose form. āditya-varṇaṁ, luminous like the sun. tamasaḥ, to darkness. parastāt, transcendental. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: one should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as He who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is inconceivable, beyond all material conception, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Purport. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad-gītā. The Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. That means he has to be the oldest, right? Uh, if everything came out of him, he must be before everything exists, so he must be the oldest. He is also the supreme controller of the universe, and he is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair, but the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this particle. Therefore, he is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the Super Soul. Although so small, he is still all pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word acintya is very significant. The word acintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, acintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So, how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons avoiding useless argument and speculation should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Bhagavad-gītā, and Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Now, this is very, very, very important verse actually in the Bhagavad-gītā. How to meditate on the Supreme Lord. Now, of all the yogis, the one who meditates on Krishna is the topmost yogi. That is already emphatically described in the 6th chapter, the end of the 6th chapter. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam samyukta tamo matah. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So, the highest yogi is he who is always with great faith in Krishna, thinking of Krishna all the time. Now, so kaviṁ purāṇam. So, in the previous, on the New Year's Day, which is the New Year, but we spoke about the oldest person, purāṇam. This word, we had this class on New Year Day on 1st of January, and there we spoke about the oldest person. So why New Year oldest person? Because Krishna, although old, the oldest, he is always youthful. We have seen that in a gist. I will just recap again. So he is Navayauvanam cha. So that is explained. You will never see a picture of Krishna very old, never, because he is Navayauvanam. So Advaitam Achyutam Anadim. Anadim means he has no other origin. And Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda. He has no origin, but he is the origin of everything. Anadim Anantarupam Adyam. Adyam means again the first. He is the origin of everything. Purāṇa Purusham. Here also. Kaviṁ purāṇam anuśāsitāram aṇor aṇīyāṁsam anusmared. sarvasya dhātāram acintya-rūpam āditya-varṇaṁ tamasaḥ parastāt acintya-rūpam purāṇa puruṣam. So, but this is very, very interesting. Navayauvanam at the same time. He's Purana Purusham and Navayauvanam at the same time. So he's always youthful, although he's the oldest. And now, this aspect of Krishna, which is being old and new at the same time, extends to all his manifestations, which is his form, his name, his qualities, his pastimes, his entourage, his paraphernalia, everything is the same. It's Navayauvanam, Purana Purusham. Now we have gone through that in the class, but I'll just recap it again. So let's take Krishna's form first. So here we have seen already in this particular verse, which is from Brahma Samhita 5.33. Purana Purusham Navayauvanam. He's always ever fresh, ever youthful. So his body is always youthful. Now his name is also similarly ever fresh. Tunde Tandavini Ratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdhaye Karnakrodakadambini Ghatayate Karnarbudebhyah Spriham Chetah Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Kritim No Jane Janita Ki Yadbhiramritaye Krishneti Varnadvayi. So Rupa Goswami is explaining this. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Kṛṣṇa have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. Tundavali means millions of mouths actually. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. So this is the nature of Krishna's name. It is so sweet, so transcendental, that with millions of mouths, millions of ears, is not enough to hear the holy name of Krishna. It's always so um, new and ever increasing. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Vardhanam means increasing. Ananda means bliss. Ambudhi means ocean. And vardhanam means ever increasing ocean of bliss. So that is Krishna consciousness. And who is this? Yamunacharya. यदवधिममचेतः कृष्णपादारविन्दे नवनवरसधामन्युद्यतं रन्तुमासीत् तदवधिवत नारी सङ्गमे स्मर्यमाणे भवति मुखविकारः सुष्ठु निष्ठीवनं च. So Yamunacharya was a great acharya, but before, in the first half of his life, he was a great king, and he had access to women, wine, and all kinds of material enjoyment and sinful activities. So he was engaged in that, and then later on, he became a great devotee and pure devotee. In fact, he became the guru of Ramanujacharya. Now, when he became devotee, then you see Maya always attacks. Just like Haridas Thakur was chanting, Maya came requesting for sex. He was not wanting, but Maya came. So Maya will come either directly come herself or will dictate through the mind. So when the Maya dictated like that to Yamunacharya, since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the thought. Actually, it is my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the very thought. Bhavati mukha vikaraha. Mukha vikaraha means my lips turn with curl in distaste, and I spit at the very thought. So now, why does he think of sex life with a woman? He's a pure devotee, but no, Maya will try, but he's not agitated by that. Maya will give some suggestions for material enjoyment, just like Haridas Thakur was given a suggestion by Maya and the prostitute. So, but he did not accept the suggestion. He politely refused. So, similarly, Yamunacharya is saying like that. So, what is the secret? Why is he feeling this adirasa? Sex life is adirasa, the highest pleasure in this material world. Everybody, the whole world is spinning because of sex life. Hmm? But Navanavarasa Dhamani Udyatam Rantumasit. So, Krishna consciousness is an abode or a giver of unlimited and newer tastes. Every time it's new and new and ever fresh. So, Krishna consciousness is like that. Krishna's form is like that. Krishna's name is like that. Now, Krishna's topics are also like that. Brahman Krishna Katha Brahman Krishna Katha Punya Madhvir Lokamalapaha Konu Tripyeta Shranvana Shrutagno Nityanutana. What experienced listener, O Brahmana, could ever grow satiated while listening to the pious, charming, and ever fresh topics of Lord Krishna, which cleanse away the world's contamination? Ever fresh topics. What is the word? Nitya Nutanaha. Nutan means new, novel, and Nitya, always new. So Krishna's topics, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's message. So Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is also Nitya Nutana. And Krishna Katha, there are two types, spoken by Krishna and spoken about Krishna. Katha means not only stories but topics. See, Krishna Katha, topics of Krishna. So, um, so both Krishna Katha, so Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and similar other literatures, whether spoken by Krishna or spoken about Krishna or spoken about his devotees also, which is anyway related to Krishna. All of them are Nitya Nutana. And the glory of the devotees and the Lord is also everlasting. It does not become outdated or stale. It is everlasting. What is the greatest fame? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked. Ramananda Rai said, the greatest fame is to be known as a devotee of Krishna. Because where is there another example where somebody did something millions of years ago and today we are talking about him? We don't have. But Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Narad Muni, Brahma himself, and Vyasadeva, of course, thousands of years ago, 5,000 years ago, Ramachandra. I mean, there are unlimited examples. Prithu Maharaj, Priyavrata, Bali Maharaj, all, so many examples. And so many thousands and millions of years later, we are still reading about them. How? Because Krishna makes sure that the fame of such a devotee will last for many millions and billions of years. You see, Prahlad Maharaj thing happened when? So many millions of years ago. Now, how are we reading today? Because Krishna made arrangement. Vyasadeva wrote down. And not only Vyasadeva, in the disciplic succession, it has been coming down by Shruti. And in the written form, Vyasadeva wrote it down in the Bhagavatam. Who is Vyasadeva? Krishna himself. So Krishna, even if people have forgotten, he will again come as an incarnation and write, and again he will remind everybody of all the things that happened in the past that his devotees have done. And all the instructional history. So, our Puran, it is called Puran for a reason. Of course, kaviṁ purāṇam. This Puranam is the Lord Puran, but we have the literature Puranas. What is Puran? Puran means old. Old means a historical fact. They are not mythology. We have to completely thwart this kind of nonsense mentality that even Indians have. Even people who study Vedas have. The other day I was watching one video about some Oriental college, Oriental University, Indian. They have a YouTube channel they were talking about Upanishads. And that gentleman, he was referring to Mahabharata and Ramayana, and even what is that? He was talking about Mahabharata. So he is talking about it as a mythical, These words he's using: myth, mythical, mythology. So in this way, he's using those words. He is a Sanskrit scholar studying, and he's explaining Mahabharata and the cosmography and geography of Bharat in those times, um, the gross and the subtle levels of travel that happened in Mahabharata, all these things. So anyway, the point is, although he's explaining, he's reading and explaining to others, he's still using the word mythology, mythical, as if it has no relation with our reality. And where is that book? Okay, I've kept it back in the cupboard. So there is this book. Recently, I got it. I had it before, but I gave it to someone. I got another copy of it, which is called Human Devolution, which is a sequel to the Forbidden Archaeology. I need to get that book as well. I used to have that book, but I gave it to someone. Um, so, in the Forbidden Archaeology, there is a lot of evidence of human remains from much into the past, millions and millions. Apparently, some 400 million year old human remains were also found. 400 million years. When they said dinosaurs even existed only 100 and something million years. This is 400 million years. Dinosaurs, of course, we don't believe, but there is no conclusive evidence of dinosaurs. Actually, honestly, this is a huge program that we are being fed, an organized story that we are being told. Okay. Um, One thing, if I've understood after coming to Krishna consciousness, is whatever is going on in the name of science and education and you know this thing, a lot of it, a vast portion of it, is propaganda. Yeah, actually, we have the greatest science. So anyway, why did I mention all this? Because that devotee who wrote this book, Forbidden Archaeology, and also the sequel to it, which is called Human Devolution. Devolution means not evolution to something higher, but devolution to something lower. Um, so anyway, he was giving a talk at Google. Somehow it was arranged. He was giving a lecture on forbidden archaeology in Google, and he gave on his findings and all. But he was not dressed as a devotee. He is dressed as a scientist, and that's how he went to so many archaeological conferences and such meetings. And he gave lectures in many universities and big scientific circles. But anyway, in this particular video that he was giving a talk at Google, he gave, and then there was question and answer sessions, and then one Indian lady asked this question that did you find any can you mention any verses from the, have you found in your study of the Puranas and Mahabharata and all this, have you found any verses that like corroborate life that happened much earlier? So he was saying that it depends on my setting how I speak. When I'm speaking to Indians in a religious setting, I can easily quote and they will accept. But when I'm talking in a scientific setting, they won't accept these things, and so I have to use the language which they accept. Well, that may be fine for a beginning to enter, but honestly, we should be in a position where they should not tell us what language to use and what evidence that we can use. By denying the Vedic evidence, they're, putting us in a handicap position where we cannot use such, you know, and therefore we cannot prove. But of course, he has proved even through archaeology. Uh, Beautiful work he has done. So it at least gets the people to think, start to think. But this is just the very beginning, like scratching the surface. Oh, man existed before. Now we are way beyond that. We are talking about exact historical incidences in the Itihasa, in the Upanishads, even in the Puranas, everywhere. We have historical incidences, full dynasties and everything, and what they did, and the highest aim of life is being communicated through those history lessons, which are relevant even today. Like Bhagavad-gītā, it is spoken 5,000 years ago. Now, just imagine a newspaper that is 1 week old. Today, it will be used for packing paper, and in India, they will make bhelpuri. and put inside. You can eat bhel puri on it, yeah, or some mixture put inside and eat. That's why you will find it in the chaat bhandar, the chaat, roadside chaat shop. You will find the newspaper. Nobody does that with the Bhagavad-gītā. Why? Because that paper is transcendental, is ever fresh, nitya nutana. Whereas this newspaper has become old. That's why it is not nutana. It cannot be ever fresh. Whereas the Bhagavad-gītā, the same book, is ever fresh. How many ever times we read, more and more we can find out from there. Same with Bhagavatam, anything with the Krishna Katha. So this is the practical demonstration. Even if we are unable to realize the ever fresh nature of Krishna's name, actually we are subconsciously experiencing it also, because even though we do not have taste like Rupa Goswami, oh, I want millions of tongues and millions of ears, but the very fact that we are able to chant every day, if we chant any other material name, we will not be able to last on a sustained level. But here we are chanting every day. It is not possible if it is not Krishna's name. Now, in the beginning, one may not have such attraction for Krishna's name or even Krishna's philosophy in the beginning, because we are so materialistic. So it may happen. But this is the reason why it happens. स्यात् कृष्णनामचरितादि सिताप्य विद्या पित्तोपतप्तरसनस्य नरोचिकानु किन्त्वादरादनुदिनं खलु सैव जुष्टा स्वाद्विक्रमाद्भवति तद्गदमूलहन्त्री. And before we go further, I just wanted to remind everyone, please remind others in the WhatsApp or some group chats and social media, wherever, that the class is ongoing and they can come and join the class. I don't see many people there in the class. So now, the holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Just now we have seen pastimes, name, form, character also. Character also, of course, is very attractive, right? Krishna is very attractive. Even a million years later, billion years later, his activities will still be attractive. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. It's like jaundice. The cure is sugar candy. How it is taken? So overnight, in the night, 1 cup of water and put rock sugar crystal into that, and then let it be like that for the overnight, and then in the morning you just drink that water. So in the beginning, when one has jaundice and fever and everything, he will taste it as very bitter, although it is actually sweet. And then after about 5 days, 6 days, it will start to taste as sweet. That means that he has already come out of the jaundice. So the sugar candy is actually the medicine for jaundice, but in the beginning he may not have the full taste of it. But if you just, with determination, take it every day, then at the end of the 5th or 6th day, he will start to taste it as sweet, and then his fever is gone. That means. So you see. So similarly, if we chant Krishna's name every day, it will also already appear sweet, but it will become sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. So this is the Navayauvanam feature of Krishna. Everything about him is Nitya Nutana. I think there is another verse as well, which is let me see. Maybe not. This is the next one. Okay, maybe I'm missing it. But anyway, there is a similar like that. CC Antya 19.111. Okay, Nishita Mataji is saying Antya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Nityanutan. Wow, this is very good. Shunite Shunite Jurai Hridaya Shravan. So, Krishna Katha, we have Bhagavad-gītā Bhagavatam, and then now Chaitanya Charitamrita Nityanutan. Chaitanya Charitamrita is ever increasingly fresh. For one who hears it again and again, the heart and ear become pacified. Actually, it is so true. Of all the scriptures, Bhagavad-gītā Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, even when we are not in the advanced stage, so many ecstatic feelings come. You can actually feel it. Um, Although we may not be advanced, like throat choking, like tears sometimes, because it's so gripping actually, so nice. But anyway, all these Krishna Katha are always Nitya Nutana, uh, always new, although he is Purana, old. So that we have covered in in the on the Sunday on the 1st of Jan. Now let's get back to the verse. So kavi means usually poet. Kavya means poem, and kavi means poet. But kavi also means philosopher. Another place also this word is used, kavi, referring to Krishna. Sapariyagachukramakayamayavranam asnaviram shuddhamapapaviddham kavirmanishi paribhuः swayam bhur yatha tatyathortan vedadhachaspatibhyah samabhyah. Kavihi, omniscient. You see this word here? This is in the Ishopanishad. Kavi means omniscient here. Omniscient means he knows everything. So, um, a person who has knowledge of everything and he's very artistic in his presentation of that knowledge as well, he is Kavi. Of course, normal poets are also called Kavi, but he is the original Kavi and he knows everything. And that is substantiated. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. So this is Kavi. Not only past, present, and future, here only the time element is given. But he also knows everything in all space, inside and outside. And we will get to that when we will come to the point of aṇor aṇīyāṁsam anusmared. Now Nishita Mataji is saying 381 and 1013.1 also referred to as ever new pastime. Let's go there. 381. पदे पदे नूतनयस्य भीक्ष्णम् सत्सेवनीयो बत पूर्वंशो यल्लोकपालो भगवत्प्रधानः बभूविथेहाजितकीर्तिमालां पदे पदे नूतनयस्य भीक्ष्णम्. Royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. The other one, 10:13.1. The Brahma Vimohana. Just साधु पृष्ठं महाभागत्वया भागवतोत्तम यन्नूतनयशीर्षस्य शृण्वन्नपि कथां मुहुः. There's another verse also, I think in the first canto somewhere. where the Shaunaka Rishi, they all will say to Suta Goswami, or maybe the sages tells Shaunaka, something like that. Somewhere in the first canto, maybe fourth chapter, or somewhere around there. O best of devotees, most fortunate Parishit, you have inquired very nicely, for although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you are perceiving his activities to be newer and newer. So this is possible. So now this newer and newer will depend on the feeling of this being newer and newer will depend on the sincerity of the disciple. If he's not sincere, if he's just like physically present, mentally absent, he's not paying attention, then he will not feel like that. One must um, hear and with rapt attention and chant with rapt attention, and that is when we will and do our seva with rapt attention, and that's when we will feel the bliss. Our mind, body, words, and everything absorbed. The more we are absorbed like that, the more everything else becomes completely unimportant. And that is explained in this shloka of Mukundamala Stotra. पृथ्वी रेणुरनुपयांसि कणिकाः फल्गु स्फुलिङ्गो लघुस् तेजो निःश्वसनं मरुत्तनुतरं रन्ध्रं सुसूक्ष्मं नभाः क्षुद्रारुद्रपितामहः प्रभृतयः कीटाः समस्ताः सुराः दृष्टे यत्र स तारको विजयते श्रीपादधूलिकणाः. Once our Savior has been seen, the whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. What is the meaning of these things? All the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. The totality of fire becomes a minute spark. The winds become just a faint sigh. And the expanse of space becomes a tiny hole. Great lords like Rudra and Grandfather Brahma become insignificant, and all the demigods become like small insects. Indeed, even one particle of dust from our Lord's feet conquers all. Now, what is this? What is this space becoming a hole and demigods becoming insects and earth becoming a speck of dust? This means that our interest, we are now interested in so many topics in this world. Um, we think, you know, this world is worth exploring more and more, more and more. But once we come to actual Krishna consciousness, we will have zero interest. Who will have an interest in a speck of dust? In fact, we dust the table, we everything, so that we're not interested in the specks of dust. We are not. It's dirt. So now, if you see, countries are fighting, and geopolitics, and like everybody is trying to have influence, and wars are going on. Um, Oil is being drilled, and everywhere people are so much, you know, for the wealth of this world. People are fighting. But once you become a devotee, we are not interested, and all the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. Who's interested in a few drops? Nobody. So similarly, and totality of fire becomes a minute spark. Winds become just a faint sigh. So everything becomes insignificant compared to the Lord. Whatever we have many interesting, we have many interests in this world, but when we really become Krishna conscious, it is so big that ocean Anandambudhi Vardhanam, increasing, ever increasing ocean of bliss is so huge, massive, that we will be totally absorbed in that, and then we are not interested in anything of this material world. And great lords become like insects. Now, people worship Shiva and devatas, for different things and for different heavenly pleasures, but nobody cares for a cockroach. So similarly, a devotee does not, flatter them to receive some material benedictions. Of course, he gives all respect to them as devotees of Krishna, but their position as Brahma is a very controlling position, like everybody wants that, right? But no, a pure devotee is not interested. So that is the intense level of happiness that one gets. What to speak? I mean, this earth is just nothing. Millions of planets are there in this material world, and millions of material universes are there. And beyond this universe, there is the Brahma Jyoti, and then beyond that, there is the Vaikuntha planets, and finally, there is the Golok Vrindavan. Now, earth is nothing. The whole material world, the universe is nothing. Like Bali Maharaj, he could easily give up. And then whole universe is all put together. And then the Brahma Jyoti, which is a spiritual effulgence. Even if one goes to the spiritual effulgence after having crossed all these different, not just Prithvi, but everything. Brahmanando bhavedesha chetparardha gunikritah naiva, what is that? Sukhambodhes paramanukulamapi. Naiti bhakti sukhambodhe paramanukulamapi. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If Brahmananda, the bliss of merging in the Brahman effulgence, were multiplied 100 trillion times, it would still not equal even an atomic fragment of the ocean of transcendental bliss felt in devotional service. Brahman happiness multiplied by trillion times is not even equal to one drop, atomic, not even drop, atomic fragment of the ocean of the transcendental. There's no comparison. What is Prithvi? Nothing. Karma Bhumi. Nothing. Matyalok. So coming back to this point, Kavi. Krishna is also now called Kavi in this verse. Means he knows past, present, and future, omniscient. So time and space and the things that limit our vision and knowledge does not apply to him. He's omniscient. Hmm? Of course, there are so many references that he's omniscient. How did Krishna know that Draupadi needed a sari, unlimited sari? And okay, even if he knew how that she wanted, how would that be supplied? But he did everything. So omniscient, omnipotent. Um, there are innumerable, references like this in his pastimes. So that is kaviṁ, purāṇam. Now anuśāsitāram. This word anuśāsitāram is coming from the word shas dhātu. Shas dhātu. Dhātu means the root word is shas. Shas means to control. Shastra means what? Scripture. Why is it called? Because it is a instrument to control. Just like the children who are uncontrolled. Wait a minute. Let me control them. So I control them. That is called shasan. Shasan means to reprimand. Guru more murkha dekhi korilo shasan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prabhu kohe shuno Shripad ihar karan. I don't think they were controlled. Guru more murkha dekhi korilo shasan. Shasan means what? Again, this is coming from the word shasadhatu. Chastisement. Shasan. Shastra means an instrument that can control, just like a constitution. That is also Shastra. A constitution, and every society, every company has a constitution of its own. So, and of course, the country has a constitution. And similarly, Manu Samhita was actually the original constitution of mankind. But, you know, nowadays they have all man made laws which are imperfect. But anyway, there is instruments that will control. Now, the book itself cannot control if a person chooses to disobey. And therefore, the enforcement department will be there, the police. If constitution you can put whatever rule you want, but if there is no police to enforce that, what is the use of this? So Maya is there to enforce. Okay, you do this, this is sin. But if you do the sin, what is the punishment? Maya is there. There is. So the arrangement is there, and then Krishna is letting us know through the Vedas. So that is why it is called Shastra. And Shastra. Shastra means weapons, also called Astra and Shastra also. That is also used for controlling. Um, for those who can't listen to Vedic knowledge, they have to receive some beating or some chastisement through weapons. So when one king he used to go and attack another kingdom, that was only because of information that that king is not ruling according to Vedic principles, and he will go and attack him. If he is ruling with Vedic principles, then he will not attack him. That is at least the system those days. Now, so that's why it's called Shastra. So, anuśāsitāram means what? The controller. So, he controls everything. What does that mean? What are the implications of this word anuśāsitāram? That means there is no such thing called an accident. An accident is something that happened without intention. Now, it may not happen according to my intention or some other's intention. For example, um, somebody is driving and then somebody just runs across the road and then it hits him. Now, the driver did not want to hit him, neither the man who was crossing the street just like that wanted to get hit, but it happened. So, on both sides, it is unintentional. But there is intention. Krishna designed that. So, he controls everything. But one thing is that he will give us the independence that we have. He can control that also. And in fact, when a devotee voluntarily surrenders his independence, and that is exactly what is meant by Sharanagati. Sharanagati means I am paying the price of my independence. And whoever does that, Krishna sells himself to that person. So Sharanagati is the price with which one can buy Krishna. Not because that is what he is worth. No, he's not worth. I mean, he is beyond any. Our surrender is not anywhere close to purchasing Krishna. But out of his causeless mercy, he allows himself to be purchased by our surrender. Um, and then that's why Yamunacharya also sings in the Stotra Ratnam that Bhavantamevānucharan nirantarah prashanta nishesha manorathantarah कदाहमैकान्तिकनित्यकिङ्करः प्रहर्षयिष्यामि सनाथ जीवितम्. So, Stotra Ratna 43. Sanatha. Now we are Anatha. We are Anatha. Anatha means orphan. We are now like an orphan because we have we've given up the guardian. The what is it? Guardianship of Krishna. So now we want to become Sanatha. praharshayishyami. I will be happy if I am sanatha. I don't want to be anatha. What is the meaning of this? By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? So, if we don't have a fitting master, we actually cannot be happy. We are not joyful in this material world. But when we agree to become controlled, then the Lord takes charge, and then we will actually get freedom. When we want to become free, then we will be controlled by Maya. When we want to be controlled by Krishna, then we will become actually free. So this is the paradoxical truth. Now, anyway, he is the controller of everything. So in this material world, everybody is controlled by the law of karma. Now, here we are agreeing ourselves to be controlled through his agency Maya. And a devotee, he wants to be directly controlled by Krishna. In either case, we are always controller. We have an illusion of independence. The only independence we do have is what control we have. The independence is to choose which dependence we want. Krishna's dependence or is depending on Maya. I think I wrote an article like that in the magazine a couple of years back or something. It is called Independence in Dependence. Independence in Dependence. So if we become dependent on the Lord, then we'll become independent. So we want independence, but we are depending on Maya. But if we actually become dependent on the Lord, then we'll get independence. So independence in dependence. That was the article. So like Narad Muni, I've always quoted this. Narad Muni, completely surrendered soul, and he is free to roam around wherever he wants. And similarly, all is like Hanuman, he also free to roam wherever he wants. And even Prabhupada. Now, sometimes the devotees may not show their full power, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1875, he predicted that soon there will be a personality who will, soon a personality will appear who will travel unrestricted in the world and preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mind you, at that time there was no planes, at least in modern invention. Vedic planes were there, but we're talking about modern invention. No, there were no planes. But he already predicted. And Prabhupada did it. Of course, he apparently it looks like he went ship and planes and everything. But honestly, is it possible for a 70-year-old person to 80-year-old, when he was 81, he left this world? For a person of that age to roam around like that, who has never roamed around in the world ever in his life, and suddenly at the age of 69, he goes in a ship and then he travels all over the world in 12 years and then spreads the entire mission. What the acharyas, for hundreds of years, not happening since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu time. 12 years, Prabhupada finished. And that was at the fag end of his life, not in the prime of his, not in his prime. Prabhupada always used to say, I'm at the fag end of my life. Look at that power of a pure devotee. Now it looks like, no, he did not travel by mystic power, he just took plane and ship and all that. Do you think it's not mystic power? Do you think any other person could have done it? I, as a 30-something-year-old, I can't imagine doing that at the pace he was doing. And he did not just travel. How many things he did? He set up temples. He trained up devotees. He wrote letters, thousands. Delivered lectures, conversations. Wrote how many books? Got it printed. Solved. Dealt with so many problems from the neophyte devotees who were doing so many mistakes and fighting many times, and sometimes even to the extent of even they poisoned him. Now I have been in Krishna consciousness at least since my first book that I got. It has been 19 years. 19 years since I've been in Krishna consciousness. At least since I've gotten my first book. Now, it's going to be 20 years by the end of this year. Now, Prabhupada did in 12 years at the faggon of his life. I'm at the prime. What did I do? So, you see the power. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahetar Pravartan. This is not possible for a person without spiritual strength. So, he traveled unrestricted and he preached everywhere. Spread the holy name all in all six continents with seeming effortlessness, smoothly. So going back, anuśāsitāram, the controller, and he controls everything from cosmic level to the atomic level, everything. We cannot even imagine the type of control that he has. Like we all, you know, feel Krishna is listening to us, or I'm offering my prayer to Krishna in a personal way. Now, he has the same relationship with countless living entities. How can, if we were to have relationships like that, we only have a few friends, close ones. The rest are all like, a little bit distance. But Krishna is close to every single living entity, even though that living entity is totally rotting in the stool. That Supreme Lord is so kind that he is with him there in the stool. And as a worm, he is eating the stool, he is sitting in his heart and, you know, um, giving company. So, I mean, that is like the next word actually. Aṇīyāṁsam. Aṇor, aṇīyāṁsam. So, smaller than the atom. Now, this is another thing. We think, we found out the atom and everything. The modern scientists, Western scientists. Come on. Ano. Already mentioned in the Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam everywhere. So, these are all, even the size of the soul is already mentioned, the spiritual atom. And the Lord enters into the heart of that atom also. So, Ano, this scientific thing is already there. Aṇīyāṁsam, smaller than the atom. Anusmared. Anusmared. Now, smaret means must. Anusmared means always. And also another meaning is to think of him according to the authoritative statements of Sadhu, Shastra and Guru. Not imagining our own smaranam. Anusmared. Anusmaranam means to think of Krishna according to the descriptions of Sadhu, Shastra, Guru. So the two meanings are there. Anusmared. Yah sarvasya dhātāram. This is another thing. Sarvasya dhātāram. And actually, aṇor aṇīyāṁ. There is another verse, no, from I think Mundaka Upanishad. Katha Upanishad. Sorry, Katha Upanishad. अणोरणीयान् महतो महीयान् आत्मा सजन्तोर्निहितो गुहायां तमक्रतुः पश्यति वीतशोको धातुः प्रसादान् महिमानमात्मनः. Both the super soul Paramatma and the atomic soul Jivatma are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. So, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Supreme Lord is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest at the same time. And this is perfectly displayed in the Yashoda, what is that, Leela? Eating mud. Sanskrit, there is some word. So he eating mud, Damodar Leela anyway. Not Damodar Leela, sorry, that Yashoda Vimohan Leela. She got, she was bewildered for a while. So he took some dirt from the earth, and Yashoda Maya, she was looking into his mouth, and she could see not just a little bit, soil, but she could see entire earth, entire universe, entire multitude of universe, and inside the universe she could see this planet, and then she saw herself in Krishna's mouth. It trips you like anything. I mean, how can you comprehend that? Now, this is the meaning of the word acintya-rūpam. We will get to that. But sarvasya dhātāram, let's finish that. aṇor mahato mahiyan. He is smaller and biggest at the same time. Damodar Leela. What is the last verse of Damodar Ashtakam? How did I forget? Please let me know in the comment section. Damodar Ashtakam. Namastestu dhamne. Namastestu dhamne vishwasya dhamne. What is that? Dhamne means to bind. Vishwasya dhamne. You are the abode of the entire universe. त्वदीयोदरायाथ विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमस्तेस्तु धाम्ने विश्वस्य धाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायाथ विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमस्तेस्तु धाम्ने स्फुरद्दीप्ति धाम्ने. Yes. So Vishwasya Dhamne, he is Leela Shesha Krishnadev samuthitam jagadidam Krishnasya dasosmyaham Mukundamala Sutra. Leela Shesha Jagat Prapancha Jathare Vishweshware Sridhare. In the 23rd verse of Mukundamala Sutra. What is that? Leela Shesha Jagat Prapancha Jathare. Jathara means in the womb. And Leela Ashesha Vishwasa. Leela Shesha Prapancha. Prapancha means unlimited universes are there in his womb. Mahavishnu, pores of his body. Universes are coming out. So Leela Shesha Jagat Prapancha Jathare Vishweshware Sridhare Mahato Mahiyan. And sarvasya dhātāram. Dhātāram means the maintainer. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. So that one singular Supreme Personality of Godhead is maintaining everybody else and everything else. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains that, the planets, he is maintaining all the planets by entering into them, and they are moving as if they are like floating cotton swabs in the air, in the vast expanse of space. But actually, modern science tries to explain it by so-called gravity, Earth moving around the sun and all that. We don't accept that version because that is not true. The real thing is that this is the real thing, real science. This is where we have to understand that we can't come to a compromise between this descending knowledge and ascending knowledge. So this descending knowledge means shastric knowledge given by Krishna, and ascending knowledge means like so-called scientists try to find out more and more and more, ascend into the higher realms of knowledge on the strength of their sense perception and tools that they create. Now we cannot rely. We have relied so long on that kind of knowledge, and that's what we learned in school. We did not see the moon landing, we did not see how far the sun is, and we did not see the earth moving around the sun. We are not seeing any of this. We are just hearing about these things, read about these things. So we are accepting it on faith. Now, everyone in this material world is defective, and therefore there is a lot of defect in the perception of these so-called scientists, and also there is a lot of propaganda as well, showing that something else is true when it is not. Just like this forbidden archaeology that I mentioned earlier. There have been so many archaeological evidences that humans were there millions of years ago, but they wanted to push one narrative, and so they just hid all those evidences. So in this way, there is so much manipulation actually. And why will they do that? Because then it will look like they are supreme. If we have the information that man exists so far beyond, and then they used to have all these technologies, then we have to start believing our Vedic statements. Then India will become the head of the entire world's knowledge base, because in our Vedas is everything. But they want to have the control. They are the ones who brought advancement into civilization. Those stone age people, like hunter gatherers who were hunting animals in the forest. From there, these western technological advancements have brought us to this place now. That's what they want to show. And this evolution theory perfectly fits that narrative, because then we can say that, oh yeah, man was evolving, and now because of the western inventions and discoveries and all these things, now mankind has come to the most advanced it has ever been. But that cannot be further from the truth. Man was much more advanced, now he's not. So anyway, so we have to disassociate ourselves with the propaganda that we have been fed by imperfect entities, and accept this. So this gravitational pull, this is not the real reason. What is gravity also is not properly understood by the scientists. According to Prabhupada explains very nicely, Sankarshan, in his Adishesh feature, he is holding the planets on his hoods, universes on his hoods, and he doesn't even feel that. And Sankarshan, magnet is called Akarsha. Akarsha means it attracts. Sankarshan, it is the same as Akarshana, but the sang means complete. Samyak Akarshana becomes Sankarshana. Samyak means complete, like this word is used, Samyak. See, Samyak, Bhagavad-gītā 5:4 means what? Complete. Samyak Akarshana together becomes Sankarshana. So he attracts everything, not only by his beauty, but also by his, Sankarshan is who? Expansion of Balaram, the supreme source of strength. So by his strength, he pulls everything. That is the gravitational force. But then everything should be pulled down. How come the planets are floating in the sky? गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधीः सर्वाः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकाः. We are concerned especially with this too, because it's related to today's verse. Dharayami, dhātāram, dharayami. What is that? I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. So although it should have fallen into the Garbhodaka ocean, which happened, right? When Hiranyaksha came, he pushed the earth out of the orbit and then it fell into the Garbhodaka ocean. Varaha lifted. Dharayami. That time he personally lifted. But now by his inconceivable energy, they're already staying. Even if you lift, it will fall down, right? How is it staying? Gama vasya bhutani dharayami hamodasa. So this is called dhātāram. In fact, another verse is also there that Mata dhata pitamaha. Pitahamasya jagata Mata dhata pitamaha dhata. Sarvasya dhātāram. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and Yajurvedas. He is the support, dhāta, dhātāram, maintainer. Just like pearls are strung on a thread. That is another example is given in this verse. अतः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव 7:7 Bhagavad-gītā. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So he is the dhātāram, sarvasya dhātāram, maintainer of everything. Now let's come to the next word, acintya-rūpam. Now, I've been to Indonesia to this what is this? Batam. Batam. There, I went to some temples, and this is also there in Bali sometimes. And if you go inside the temple, there are all Hindu temples supposedly. They don't look like anything like our temples in India. And you go inside, there is this just impersonal, just like some symbol is there. So I asked, what is that? They said that's Achintya, the Lord, the inconceivable supreme power, Achintya. It has no form. It has just some symbol was there, and then that is the altar. But here, acintya-rūpam and āditya-varṇaṁ tamasaḥ parastāt. Okay, this is another. Now, if you see in this verse, there are many things mentioned. Kaviṁ is one, purāṇam is one. So, anuśāsitāram is third feature of Kṛṣṇa. aṇor aṇīyāṁsam is fourth feature. Anusmared is a meditation. Sarvasya dhātāram is fifth feature. Acintya-rūpam is sixth feature. āditya-varṇaṁ seventh feature. Tamasaḥ parastāt eighth feature. So 8 features of Kṛṣṇa are mentioned here in this verse. Now this acintya-rūpam, he has a form, but form again means it has limits, right? But it is limited and unlimited at the same time. Not one-sided. Greatness means it's not just in the one-sided, only big. No, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. How can one person be smaller and bigger at the same time? Acintya-rūpam. How can Kṛṣṇa eats a little bit of sand, but then in his mouth there is whole universe and everything, and Yashoda Maya will also be in his mouth? What is that? And fear runs away from him, but he is fearing Yashoda Maya. What is that? Acintya-rūpam. And angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. So every organ can perform the action of every other organ. Yes, he has a form, but he does not exactly function like our form. And another thing about his acintya-rūpam is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Ours is Achit Asat Nirananda Vigraha. His is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. There is eternity, bliss, and complete knowledge. We are a complete opposite. We are not eternal. This body is temporary. Achit, that means it's not full of knowledge. And Nirananda, full of miseries. His is exactly opposite. How can one have a body that is full of bliss, eternity, and knowledge? And knowledge, what kind of? He is here, but he knows everywhere, every nook and corner of creation and beyond creation, everything. How? How one can be like that? And he's situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. If I'm here, I cannot be there. But he's everywhere at the same time. That's why it is said, sarvasya pāṇipadam tat sarvatokṣiṣiromukham sarvatah śrutimalloke sarvam āvritya tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. And what is the other one? Anejadekam manaso javiyo nainaddeva apnuvan purvamarshad tad dhavatonnyan atyeti tishtat tasminnapo matarishva dadhati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind. He is staying and um, running at the same time, and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and the rain, he surpasses all in excellence. And next, तदेजति तन्नैजति तद्दूरे तद्वन्तिके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्यास्य बाह्यतः. Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but yet he is near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. Now, this is very hard to imagine, but in practically, Krishna showed it in the Yashoda, that Leela of eating dirt. He showed it. We cannot imagine, but he made it visible. Yashoda saw it. So, and that is recorded. These are not some theoretical some fantastic philosophy. No, no, it is practical, not some fantasy. It's real. But because we cannot imagine, we bewildering. But at the same time, acintya-rūpam. But he's asking us to chinta. We're asking us to think of anusmared. How to think of something that is unthinkable. Achintya. Achintya means we cannot comprehend. But how to anusmared if it is not chintya, conceivable. So here is where our acceptance of it comes. We have to accept as it is. We cannot try to understand it by logic. To an extent, we can understand something. After that, beyond that, we cannot understand the Lord. Like the law of karma, something to deal with this material world, we can understand when it is explained in the philosophical. We can understand a little bit. But when it comes to the Lord, Krishna is saying, Brahma is saying, what is he saying? जानन्त एव जानन्तु किं बहूक्त्या न मे प्रभो मनसो वपुषो वाचो वैभवं तव गोचरः. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. And let them think that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they're all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. Achintya. So we can only offer our obeisances and glorify the Lord and sing His, glories. Yes. So Nishita Mataji is saying, I'll just go to that. This is where the second meaning of anusmared, to think of him according to the descriptions of sadhu, shastra, and guru, comes into context. Yes. So we cannot imagine in our own way. Huh? So we have to follow the descriptions that are already there, and up to a certain extent, whatever we can understand. That is also because Krishna is merciful enough to allow us to understand at least something, so that our brain, our logical side of our thinking is a little bit satisfied. Because we have that itch of knowing everything, right? We want to know everything by logic, by some some rationale. So he scratches that itch to an extent. He explains the soul and the body, although soul is actually ascharyam. What is that? 229. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Now, So we cannot understand the soul even. We cannot understand our own mind, our intelligence, our false ego. We cannot understand even these things very clearly in our material state. How to understand the soul, how to understand the super soul, aṇor aṇīyāṁsam, we cannot understand. But Krishna, in a way, he put logic. Oh, vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Oh, just like you wear clothes. Ah, okay, okay, that makes sense. Oh, just like yantrarudhani maya, just like you drive a car, machine. This is body is like a machine. Ah, yes, that makes sense. Oh, kaumaram acharet. Sorry, not kaumaram. Kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptya. Just like the body, soul is moving through different bodies. The body is already changing. So we may say, oh, is there reincarnation? Well, you've already seen it. Where? Okay, now you don't have the body that you had. You're already in a different body. So you have reincarnated already within this so-called body, within this lifetime. So that same changes will continue after this present so-called death of the body. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Then in different ways he tries to make us understand, oh, it cannot be burned by fire, moistened by water, withered by the wind, burnt by fire, all these things. So he's giving us some logical, hints. And he's also giving us something which we are also, interested in. Oh, how is like Einstein was cracking his whole life, cracking his brain, try to understand, theory of relativity. But Krishna already mentioned that in the 8th chapter. Oh, Abram, what is that? Sahasra yuga paryantam ahariyat brahmano vidu. So he said, oh, time is relative. Brahma's one day and your one day is not the same. Then he mentioned how long is Brahma's one day. Oh, there is a relativity of time. So we have an itch to have, to satisfy our curiosity, and Krishna satisfies to an extent, to calm us down. If Krishna really wants, see, he only reveals to us as much as we can understand. Even if he reveals more, we cannot understand what he is revealing. That's why non-devotees, even if Krishna personally comes before them, they cannot recognize. Maya javanikachannam agnadhoksha jamavyayam nalakshase moodhadrisha nato natyadharo yatha. See, being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So Krishna may come right in front of us, we cannot recognize. So the amount of revelation that happens is dependent on our surrender. Yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi. This is from Brahma Samhita. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Dharman anyan parityajya mamekam bhaja vishwasan. Yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi. Is actually a combination of 1866 and 411 of Bhagavad-gītā. Dharman anyan parityajya. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Here dharman anyan parityajya mamekam bhaja vishwasan. And then ye yathamam prapadyante. 411. Yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi. Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. So that will be revealed to us. Anusmared. So when we follow such ways of descriptions given in the Shastra, then we will come to the point of this. Not just imagining or thinking, but actually. 38. Temanjanachurita-bhakti-vilochaneena Antas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shyamasundara acintya-gunasvarupam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Now, acintya-guna-swarupam. Acintya-rūpam and acintya-guna-swarupam is the same thing. He is a inconceivable reservoir of inconceivable qualities and form. But santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. The pure devotee sees, not just Cynthia or trying to think about or imagine or even smaranam. See. Smaranam is beginning. There's no difference between smaranam and seeing. But when one becomes pure, he will actually see. Hridayeshu sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Hanuman showed it. People did not believe. And he showed it. He tore open his chest and showed Sita and Ram inside. Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. How? Bhakti vilochanena. By the eyes of devotion. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. So acintya-rūpam, although he is acintya, so we can, we can see the Lord even if he is achintya by love. He will make himself accessible. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. He is not accessible by the Vedas even. But atma bhakto, yes. So even monkeys, in Ramachandra Bhagavan's monkeys, birds, they also accessed the Supreme Lord. Nobody is bereft. Everyone. What is that? Sarvesham 11th canto. It was quoted in the Brahmana and Vaishnava book. Anuśāsitāram, is it? Yeah. Sarvesham madhupasanam. Bhagavatam 11:18-43. Sarvesham madhupasanam. What is that? Worship of me is to be practiced by all human beings regardless of social or occupational divisions. Now, in fact, here it is mentioned human beings, but actually Sarvesham means all living entities. Of course, he is talking about, the brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and in that context here, Sarvesham, that's why human beings. But that verse can be taken out of this context and, can be extrapolated to all living entities as well. Because he actually did it. He actually did it. Monkeys served him, and even birds serve him. In the Vrindavan, even creepers serve him. Everybody is serving him. Yeah. So, acintya-rūpam. So we cannot conceive. Even if we see him, we cannot understand him. Like in Arjuna, Kṛṣṇa was driving his chariot here. I mean, he's a driver. At the same time, he showed his Vishwarupa. I mean, the entire world was under him. He is not only the driver of Arjuna's chariot, but the driver of the entire world. Yantra-rūdhāni maya. What is that? Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddesha Arjuna tishtati bhramayan. Bhramayan means making it move. He's making everybody move. Bhramayan sarvabhutani yantra-rūdhāni maya. Yantra means a vehicle or a chariot, you can say. ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशे अर्जुन तिष्ठते भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings like a charioteer of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So he is Sarathi for everybody. Actually, honestly, if you see in our body, he says, I am the fire of digestion. In the Bhagavad-gītā, he says, I am the fire of digestion. If our food is not digested, how can our body even function? And we say involuntary muscles. Heart is an involuntary muscle. What is that? Spasm, is it? Spasm is also involuntary muscle contractions. Huh? This is not a spasm, it's an orderly heartbeat. By calling it involuntary, it is a purposefully atheistic term. We are, yes, involuntary, but the Lord is doing it voluntarily. Unless He is doing it, it cannot work. Our body cannot work. Who engineered this body? Who gave the brain? Who gave the connection, the neural network, and then the whole what is that? Skeletal network, the muscular network, the what is that? Blood vessels network, everything. Who gave all this? Who engineered all this perfect system and packed into this one body? Uh, I mean, this is not only the he's not only the charioteer of the body, but he's also, he's the constructor of the body. So he's directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as in a machine made of material energy. So he is driving everything. So he showed that in the Vishwarupa form. And he will also drive us, like that Guha, that boatman in the Ramayana. So Ram wanted to cross the river, and the boatman said, "Okay, I will take you there." He asked, "How much should I pay you?" No, no. People of the same profession, they don't pay each other. I am a boatman, you are a boatman. How can I accept payment from another boatman? Ram said, "What do you mean?" No, because I carry people across this river. You carry people across the ocean of material existence. You are a boatman, I am a boatman. So, so in other words, he just wanted to serve the Lord and did not want to take any remuneration for such service. But he put in a way which is very, very philosophical. It's very, Ekaleshwar Krishna. Rajagishwar is Ekaleshwar Krishna. So this is 5.142. Ekaleshwar Krishna Arsabhritya Jarajaichanachaisya Taichakaran Nritya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. So, acintya-rūpam, acintya-rūpam. āditya-varṇaṁ. Again, how can somebody have the effulgence of the sun and be a person? Where we have experience of such a person? But there is Krishna. So in the Ishopanishad also, it is said, Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapihitam mukham tattvam poshanna pavrano satyadharmaya drishtaye. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. This is why the Brahman realized people, because they are not devotees, they only see the effulgence. They cannot penetrate the effulgence and see the form of the Lord. The Brahma Jyoti that they covet is only the effulgence of the Lord. It's not the Lord yet. It's one aspect of the Lord, definitely, but they have not seen the form of the Lord. It's dazzling effulgence. But a pure devotee can see. What's the other verse I wanted to take out? Anyway, I can take out this verse. In the Vishwarupa also, Arjuna saw this. No. Yes. दिवि सूर्य सहस्रस्य भवेद् युगपदुत्थिता यदि भाससदृशी सा स्यात् भासस्तस्य महात्मनः. Aditya-varṇaṁ means having the effulgence of the sun, but here Divi Surya Sahasrasya. if hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Hundreds of thousands of suns. And not only is Krishna āditya-varṇaṁ, see, everything that applies to Krishna applies to all aspects of his name, his scripture, everything. So, āditya-varṇaṁ. Five 16 of Bhagavad-gītā. ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषाम् आदित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. And however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed. Then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. 15:19 Bhagavad-gītā. Once we know Krishna, we know everything. Krishna Surya Sama. This is āditya-varṇaṁ. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Andhakar. So āditya-varṇaṁ also means not only the effulgence of the sun, bright as effulgence, but also because once we are in the presence of Krishna, there will be no darkness of Maya. That is another meaning of āditya-varṇaṁ. There is no darkness of Maya. His knowledge, you see. And Bhagavatam, which is non-different from him. Tajamahe Bhagavata-swarūpam. कृष्णे स्वधामोपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलौ नष्टदृशामेष पुराणार्को धुनोदितः अर्कः. This arkah means sun. Purāṇa arkah. This Bhagavad Purāṇa is like the sun. āditya-varṇaṁ. This Bhagavad Purāṇa is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purāṇa. Now you may say, hey, I have Bhagavatam book in my cupboard, and when I switch off the light, it is all dark. What is this? Now, light is both ways, ignorance and physical light. In fact, the devotees are considered better than the sun. Santo Chakshumsi, what is that? 11:26, 34, 32, is it? 32. No. 34 maybe. Santo dishanti chakshumsi bahirarkah samutthitah devata bandhavah santah santa atmahameva cha. My devotees bestow divine eyes, whereas the sun allows only external sight. And that only when it is risen in the sky. My devotees are one's real worshipable deities and real family. They are one's own self, and ultimately they are non-different from me. So what is this divine eyes, whereas sun allows only external sight? So this is the light of knowledge. Adhyatma-dīpam atititir-shatam tamondham akhila-shruti-saramekam yasvanubhavam. This is the Sukadeva Goswami's It will be a nice prayer to Sukadeva Goswami. Yasvanubhavamakhilaśrutisaramekam adhyatma-dīpamatititir-shatam tamondham samsarinam karunayaha purāṇa-guhyam tam vyasa-sonumupayami gurum muninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Sukadeva Goswami, the spiritual master of all sages, Gurum Muninam, the son of Vyasadeva, Vyasa-sonum, who, out of his great compassion, Karunayaha, for those gross materialists, samsarinam, who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge. Akhila Shruti Saram Ekam. Akhila Shruti Saram. Of all the scriptures, Shruti, Saram, the essence, is Bhagavatam. Akhila Shruti Saram. After having personally assimilated it by experience, Yaha Sva Anubhavam. Yaha Sva Anubhavam. Similar thing is mentioned in this another verse which also glorifies Sukadeva Goswami, right at the end of Bhagavatam, 12:12:69. स्वसुखनिभृतचेतास् तद्व्युदस्तान्यभावो प्यजितरुचिरलीला कृष्टसारस्तदीयं व्यतनुतकृपयायास्तत्त्वदीपं पुराणं तमखिलवृजिनघ्नं व्याससूनुं नतोऽस्मि. Tattvadipam Puranam. This Deepam means lamp. Lamp means not like, kerosene lamp, candle. Arko, Purana Arko Dhunoditaha. The lamp of lamps. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other types of consciousness, he became attracted to the pleasing, most melodious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke this supreme Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the absolute truth and which describes the activities of the Lord. So basically, when you have light, you can see things. When there's no light, you cannot see things. Now, the external light of the sun will enable us to see physical things, but the light of Bhagavad Puran and Bhagavad-gītā will enable us to see things which even sunlight cannot show us. How can we see the Lord? How can we see with clarity the world and understand the world? You see, when the sun, rises up, then we can see everything, right? Clearly. Then we can understand things as they are. But that's only at a physical level. At a much higher level, at a more subtle level, we can't. The sun also cannot show us. But Bhagavatam can show us. Bhagavad-gītā can show us. Things that we have never seen, can never see with our eyes. That is light. That is another. Light means it shows things. It is showing. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakya Jnanadipena Bhasvata. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā. And so we have seen Krishna's form is bright, āditya-varṇaṁ. His philosophy, Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam, are bright like the sun again, āditya-varṇaṁ. Nirvyājam bhajagunanidhe pavanam pavananam Shraddharajyan matiratitaram uttama shloka maulim Prodhyannantah karanakuhare hantayannama bhanor Abhasopi kshapayati maha patakadvantarashim. Yannama bhanor. Bhanu means what? Sun. Nama Bhanu. His name is like the sun as well. Okay. O reservoir of all good qualities, just worship Sri Krishna, the purifier of all purifiers, the most exalted of the personalities worshipped by choice poetry. Worship him with a faithful, unflinching mind without duplicity and in a highly elevated manner. Thus worship the Lord, whose name is like the sun. For just as a slight appearance of the sun dissipates the darkness of night, so a slight appearance of the holy name of Krishna can drive away all the darkness of ignorance that arises in the heart due to greatly sinful activities performed in previous lives. āditya-varṇaṁ. Yannama bhanoha. And this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Even a faint light from the holy name of the Lord can eradicate all the reactions of sinful life. Right. He explains actually that rogues and thieves they run away. This is about devotee. All the prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. Oh, great sage! Actually, I accidentally found this verse. Accident. No, Krishna's plan. प्रचेतस ऊचुः स्वागतं ते सुरर्षेद्य दिष्ट्या नो दर्शनं गतः तव संक्रमणं ब्रह्मन् अभ्याय यथा रवेः रवि means sun यथा रवेः. Now all the prachetas began to address the great sage Narada. O great sage, O Brahmana, we hope you met with no disturbances while coming here. It is due to our good fortune that we are now able to see you. By the traveling of the sun, people are relieved from the fear of the darkness of night, a fear brought about by thieves and rogues. Similarly, your traveling is like the sun's, for you drive away all kinds of fear. So the movement of the devotee is also like the sun. In fact, it is greater than the sun. We have seen the other in the other verse. Um, Abhinnat, what is that? 1:15. Oh, come on, I keep forgetting all these verses. No, 1:1, not this one. 1:14. आपन्नः संसृतिं घोरां यन्नाम गृविवशो गृणन् ततः सद्यो विमुच्येत यद्बिभेति स्वयं भयम्. Najamil is a good example of, yadbibheti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So, yannama bhanoh. So, who are the rogues and thieves? And like sun goes up and then, yeah, rogues and thieves go. But here, the son of the holy name, where are the rogues and thieves? We have अन्धस्य मे हृतविवेकमहाधनस्य चौरैः प्रभो बलिभिरिन्द्रियनामधेयैः मोहान्धकूपकुहरे विनिपातितस्य देवेश देहि कृपणस्य करावलम्बम्. Chauraih, by thieves. So, andhasya, who is blind? Of me, I am blind. Hrita, stolen. Viveka, discrimination. By my power of discrimination is stolen, which is mahadhanasya, which is my great wealth. Because if I can discriminate what is right, what is wrong, then what is truth, what is falsity, then I can chalk out my path of life. But that is being stolen. That great wealth that I have, viveka, mahadhana, chauraihi prabho balibhirindriya namadheyaihi. Some thieves, they stolen it away from me. Who are the thieves? Indriya namadheyaihi. Their name is called Indriya. Indriya. They're very powerful. They are called the senses. So our senses are the rogues and thieves. Mohandhakupa kuhare of delusion, pitch dark well. They threw me into this pitch dark well of delusion. Vinipatitasya. Patita means fallen. Patita means those who somebody made me fall. It means they threw me. Devesha dehi kripanasya karavalambam. Please extend your hand and save me. Pick me up. Just like Krishna picked up the lizard, King Nirga from the well. We are exactly like that. Our position is like that. O Lord, the powerful thieves of my senses have blinded me by stealing my most precious possession, my discrimination. And they have thrown me deep into the pitch dark well of delusion. Please, O Lord of Lords, extend your hand and save this wretched soul. And in the purport, there is a verse by Raghunath Das Goswami, similar meaning. This is, of course, by Rupa Goswami. Manasi cha phani dushte labdha patosmi dushte. Timira gahana rupe. Timira means again darkness. Gahana rupe. Hanta samsara kupe. Ajita nikhila raksha hetu muddhara daksham. Upanaya mama haste bhakti rajyum namaste. Alas, I have fallen into the deep, dark, filthy well of samsara in which the viper of sex desire dwells. O invincible Lord, the robe of devotional service is the cause of the universal protection and is expert at delivering the fallen souls. Please place that rope in my hand. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Now, this next verse by Raghunath Das Goswami in his Manah Siksha. Manah Siksha is like Upadeshamrita. Upadeshamrita has 11 verses, Manah Siksha has 12 verses. So, instructions to the mind. So, in that, there is one verse like this. असच्चेष्टा कष्ट प्रदविकटपाशालिभिरिह प्रकामं कामादि प्रकटपथपातिव्यतिकरै गले बद्ध्वा हन्ये हमिति बकभिद्वर्त्मभगने कुरु त्वं फुत्कारान् अवति स यथा त्वं मन इतः. The highwayman of lust and his accomplices, greed, etc., have waylaid me. Highwaymen mean highway robbers. Of lust and his accomplices, greed, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. These highway robbers have waylaid me. That means threw me and out of the highway. And then what is the highway? To where? To Kṛṣṇa. But these robbers have and bound my neck with the horrible ropes of sinful activities. O mind, please scream out for help. This is instruction to the mind. Crying, O Kṛṣṇa, O killer of Baka, I am on the verge of death. If you do this, then Kṛṣṇa will certainly save me. So if you pray like this, Kṛṣṇa will certainly save you, he's saying. So, killer of Baka. So, demon. So, this demon, in Krishna's pastimes, they're actual demons and Kṛṣṇa kills them and saves the devotees. In our case, all these enemies that we have is within us actually. There's one nice verse about the holy name from the Mukundamala again. Shatruchedayika mantram sakalamupanishad vakya sampujya mantram samsarocheda mantram samuchita tamasaḥ sangha niryāna mantram sarvaishwaryaika mantram vyasana bhujaga sandashta santrāna mantram jihve Shri Kṛṣṇa mantram japa japa satatam janma sāphalya mantram. Shatrucheda samuchita tamasaḥ sangha niryāna mantram. O tongue, please constantly chant the mantra composed of Sri Krishna's names. This is the only mantra for destroying all enemies, the mantra worshipped by every word of the Upanishads, the mantra that uproots samsara, the mantra that drives away the darkness of ignorance. āditya-varṇaṁ. Samuchita tamasaḥ sangha niryāna mantram. The mantra for attaining infinite opulence, the mantra for curing those bitten by the poisonous snake of worldly distress, and the mantra for making one's birth in this world successful. Who is this Shatru? Destroying all enemies. There is a very nice verse chanted by Prahlad Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namaste Jaste Jase Avirbhava Vajranaka Vajradamshtra Karmashayan Randhaya Randhaya Namo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha. This is a very nice verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namaste Jaste Jase Avirbhava Vajranaka Vajradamshtra Karmashayan Randhaya Randhaya Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishtha Om Shraum. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts. Vajranaka Vajradamshtra. Finally, vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Narasimha, his teeth and his nails were so sharp, and he tore open Hiranyakashipu. That Hiranyakashipu is a personified demoniac desires that we have. So here Prahlad is asking, please vanquish my demon-like desires with your nails. And what are those demon-like desires? For fruitive activity in this material world, to enjoy myself in this material world. That is the demon actually that we are requesting Narasimha to kill. Not some other Shatru, hey, he scolded me yesterday, Narasimha, please kill him. As if Narasimha is going to listen to us like that. So, those are not our Shatrus somewhere else. Our Shatru is our own demon-like desires, our own Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madhamatsarya, and our Balibhir Indriya Namadheya, Chaurai, thieves, our own senses. So these, we are asking protection from our own, um, ourself. Huh? Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. So in the comment section there is something interesting here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also written a bhajan in Gitavali comparing the holy name's glories to the sun, Namashtakam, Song 3, describing how the sun of the holy name rises within a devotee's heart. Okay, I do not know that. Need to see that. So, that's very nice. So in this way, āditya-varṇaṁ, you see how much we can actually explore so much like this every verse. And 8 different things are mentioned about Krishna in this one verse. āditya-varṇaṁ tamasaḥ parastāt. He is transcendental to this darkness. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. This is the meaning that we have to meditate on Krishna. He is the Brahmano hi pratisthāham. I am the basis of the Brahman effulgence, Brahma Jyoti. So we have to take shelter of Krishna, tamasaḥ parastāt, and those who take shelter of Krishna, they also become above this tamasaḥ. That is explained. Bhagavatam 1:11:38. Etadīshanamīṣasya prakritistho pitadgunaihi na yujyate sadatmasthairyatha buddhistadashraya. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature even though he is in contact with them. Similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material qualities. हरिर्हि निर्गुणः साक्षात् पुरुषः प्रकृतेः परः स सर्वदृग् उपद्रष्टा तं भजन् निर्गुणो भवेत्. Lord Hari, however, has no connection with the material modes. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, the all-seeing eternal witness who is transcendental to material nature. One who worships him becomes similarly free from the material modes. So become transcendental. Tamasaḥ parastāt. So, of course, these can be expanded even more and more and more. But you get the idea. I don't know if I can find that verse. Haridas Thakur is explaining. Rogues and thieves, sun. This is one thing. It is there, but I want to go to that. Somewhere in the third chapter of the Antya-lila. Oh, wait a second. I think I got it. It's actually a beautiful verse, also compares to the sun. Amha samharadakhilam sakrud udayadeva sakalalokasya taranirivati jaladhim jayati jaganmangalam harer nama. This is 3.181 Antilila Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is almost forgot about this. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name of the Lord, if chanted once without offenses, dissipates all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnu. This is from Padyavali anthology of verses compiled by Rupa Goswami. And I think here he explains. Oh, learned scholars, please explain the meaning of this verse. But the audience requests Haridas, so it is better for you to explain the meaning of this important verse. Then, Jaishe Suryer Udoy Udoy Haridas Kohena, Jaishe Suryer Udoy Udoy na hoite arambhe tamer hoy kshay. Haridas Thakur said, as the sun begins to rise, even before it is visible, it dissipates the darkness of night. Taura preta rakshasadir bhay hoy nash, udoy hoyle dharma karma adi parakash. With the first glimpse of sunlight, fear of thieves, ghosts, and demons immediately disappears. And when the sun is actually visible, everything is manifest and everyone begins performing his religious activities and regulative duties. Even by a even by a slight rising of the sun of the holy name in our heart, already all our sinful activities depart. We become purified in our actions, thoughts, and deeds and words. And when the sun rises even more, then we actually become busy in spiritual activities. This is the meaning. ऐच्छे नामोदय आरंभे पाप आदि रक्षाय उदय होले कृष्ण पदे होय प्रेमोदय. Similarly, the first hint that offenseless chanting of the Lord's holy name has awakened dissipates the reactions of sinful life immediately, and when one chants the holy name offenselessly, one awakens to service in ecstatic love at the lotus feet of Krishna. Mukti tuchha phala hoy namabhasa hoite. Liberation is the insignificant result derived from a glimpse of the awakening of the offenseless chanting of the holy name. See how bright. Mriyamano harer nama grinan putropacharitam ajamilopyagadhama kimuta shraddhaya grinan. While dying, Ajamil chanted the holy name of the Lord, intending to call his son Narayan, nevertheless attained the spiritual world. What then to speak of those who chant the holy name with faith and reverence? 6 to 49 Bhagavatam. So another verse, 3.181. 3.181. So, Antilila. So, I think I'll stop there and see if there are any questions or anything else. Doc D. Nahwa, he says the highest is one practicing yoga. No, he says the highest yogi is he who is a devotee of Krishna. Please don't change the words and come up with your own meanings. Yoga practice keeps the subtle body youthful. Devotees, as they advance, subtle bodies become important. Well, the soul is more important, and Prabhupada showed us how to live in the old age. We don't need to get too diverted from his program. We'll become too bodily concept otherwise, too much into bodily concept. That bhakta, after many, many lifetimes, strives for perfection in mystic yoga. He learns that mental control is from yoga austerities with Krishna as the goal. I don't know what you're talking. Your bhakta is way higher than yogi, any other yogi, mystic yogi. Yoga is nothing. It's nothing compared to bhakti. In fact, in this book, Brahmana and Vaishnava, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explains in great detail about Brahmanas, yogis, and bhaktas. The Brahmanas are the Brahman realized, yogis are Paramatma realized, and bhaktas are the Bhagavan realized. So yogis are in the partial understanding of God, but bhaktas, they know. Hanuman. Any yogi you see, Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni was a great yogi. Ambarish Maharaj won against him. Real yogi is devotee. He is the highest yogi. In any, you cannot show me a yogi who is greater than a devotee. No example can be found. On the note of Krishna's devotees' pastimes also being ever fresh, Chaitanya-rūpam, okay, this we have seen. Satyam Chaudhary. As he quoted from Mukundamala Stotra that if one becomes Krishna conscious, then all the demigods become like insects and earth becomes like dust particle. But when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, then there is a tendency that we still have some affection for the family members. So how do we get rid of ourselves from this family affection? Because it seems to be becoming a great impediment on my surrendering process. So we have to read more. You have to read and associate with devotees. Then one can. It's not easy, this family affection. Brahma also said, homes are prisons. Karagraham graham. Um, the so-called homes are actually prison homes, prison house, because they keep us bound. So the only way to come out of that is to understand, first of all, the end goal is not to hate your family. No, not at all. In fact, if we hate anyone, we will. Where is that? I press somewhere else. If we hate anyone, we cannot progress in our devotional service. So we cannot hate our family. But detached means to understand that they're actually part and parcel of Krishna. And attachment for family members is natural. So we have to spiritualize their attachment to help them become Krishna conscious as much as possible. If they're not, then you have to understand that Krishna, you know, has put you into a test where you have to, with the family members who are not willing to become devotees, and pray to Krishna how to associate with devotees. And once we get the ecstasy of being in the association of devotees and the happiness that comes with it, then we will not be very much interested in family affection. That does not mean we hate them again. If possible, we will do good to them. If not possible, then let them be. We'll just wish them well and go on with our Krishna consciousness. So, anyway, you don't have to worry about it so much. You just take to hearing and chanting, and everything Krishna will arrange. If body is pure, Krishna will do through the body. That was happening for Prabhupada. Well, the purity comes from the soul. The soul is pure. I mean, it's not ordinary. That's why you cannot. Namartya buddha suyeta. You cannot think that the spiritual master is like an ordinary mortal with a normal body like us. I know about the Lord that I cannot know him completely. Yes. Prabhupada also may could see otherwise how he could travel and preach in his old age. Krishna was coming through his pure body. See, I mean, he is completely with Krishna. It's not about his body or what. It's just a pure devotee is not. Of course, his body is pure, spiritualized. He's unaffected by so-called limitations of the body. He's not. Of course, Krishna is acting through him. In fact, there is a very nice verse. Um, I also saw that in this book, Brahmana and Vaishnava. I'll see if I can find. that actually it's a very nice verse which says that actually I come in the form of my devotee. Where he said that. Mm, Let me see the contents. Eh, forgot. Anyway, I'm going to. I will summarize this book in my notes. I'll hopefully find that verse again. So the Lord says that He is acting through His devotee. So, mm, what else we have here? Means unless our senses are completely free from sense satisfaction, Krishna can't come through our tongue or can't chant properly. No, Krishna is there, but the thing is, we just don't realize. We just don't realize. Okay, so I will stop it here. Thank you very much. Bhagavad-gītā ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.